Salutations. Good morning. It is 9:14:23. Um, and I'm sitting here watching Internet Today, which is a show I watch, and I don't know if I agree with all of their takes. Some of them feel like they're fed in. They used to work with Machinima, so you wonder the amount of scripting that goes into their work versus is it all entirely them? They're pretty good at what they do, but sometimes the takes, the political leanings, maybe they're calculated. Um, who wouldn't take money to run a story? That's another sort of angle one could take with that. Uh, Not to throw any
A
heavy
whale that's getting
accusations,
milked for
but
every
Oh
cent.
yeah.
If you
A
play
few more jewels.
what is a sponsorship?
Civilization, I guarantee you, you're playing like the college level of whatever this fucking thing is. I mean, I could be wrong. I don't know about the game, but I'm just saying, like,
Yeah.
Civilization is pretty fucking vast in what you can do and how to conquer things. So
Yeah. It is a hideous game that
I will play as Genghis Khan. Oh wow, this you say he birthed a lot of children? Then I should also birth a lot of children.
Genghis Khan's a good definitely
Role model for
definitely a good leader to play as. The Mongol hordes in I believe the classical era are very very OP.
Kimmel, download this game. And then let's talk about it with each other after, like Daddy used to make us do. And speaking of Grimes, here's Insider.
Yeah, it's kind of creepy, but there is kind of a point to be made. You should have like at the end game of life, what are you trying to do? I mean, maybe it is have kids. I mean, that would be the proliferation of your genetics. That would be sort of the end game of any sort of game that had complexity, right? Uh, this artificial embryo and stuff like that is a really crazy time to be alive in and be in that stage of life where you haven't already had your kids and kind of like moved on to uh, you know uh, yeah, it's a very strange time to be alive. That's all I gotta say. But I mean, it's just a point to be made. These people who are anti-natalist, it's a little bit strange. Why would you be anti-natalist if, you have to hate life quite a lot? And I think it comes as sort of a cope from a variety of reasons, right? And one of the worst things that I think is economically, it's becoming impractical no matter where you're at, really, to have a ton of kids. That's one of the things that Elon Musk has said, that a lot of people, the more money they have, the less kids they have. Uh, Ironically, uh, does seem to be true in a lot of cases, but also, is that really true? I mean, depends on the individual. Maybe in some cases, you you could make the argument that people are given more money under the assumption that they're not going to raise a family, because there are people that it's kind of contentious, you know, in a certain aspect of looking at life. There are people who are competitive like that, but cooperation clearly is what makes everything operate. So to say that you're not going to be cooperative is not. It doesn't really work. Everything's transactional, you know. There you go. The markets are pretty important, and putting restrictions on them has a lot of consequences. And things like the ADL and the government, and just like the way that society can define uh, is pretty important to pay attention to. You know, they talk a lot. They give a lot of speeches about human rights and things like this, but they don't really do much in the way of like shoring them up. As we can see around the country, everything is, uh, in a manner of speaking, in absolute shambles. You try to be nice about it, but they just burnt down. I mean, how many? They have a map of wildfires that's pretty extensive. But then also the Maui situation was just like out of this league. Uh, it happens routinely. People should be aware of their vulnerabilities as far as nature goes, because it can turn on you really quickly. But man, there comes to be a point where some things are just too gruesome and shocking to see, and we've had way too much of that stuff. And there's nothing in the way of leadership to fix it. Everybody knows that Joe Biden is basically just this shadow president at this point. His cabinet, in best scenario, in worst scenario, you say like extended bureaucratic institutions are really like the main push of the administration. It's not even like the capacity to it's the capacity to appoint, which is the most important one, because they have some authority and pushing around like all these different departments inside of these, tacitly and like directly, implicit. So yeah, it's a strange time to be alive, and they're cutting all sorts of tax credits for folks like Elon Musk and stuff like that, right? It's another very absurd situation. He's basically got all the NASA funds too. He's completely in, the way they ran up the stock price. It's one of those things where, you can only ever be kind of like, his whole dig is like, oh yeah, you can be as rich, you can be wealthy, just not as wealthy as me. That's how a lot of people feel. It's like, you can be smart, you just can't be as smart as me. That's the biggest offense to, the grand narcissist in charge. And that's not who you want as like an actual leader. You want somebody who's more, this seems a little bit over the top. The Unity situation as well. Still trying to figure out that one. What's going on with the actual leadership in charge of that scenario? Sounds like a joke. Okay.
A new biography of Elon Musk said
Listen
the
to some
Tesla
more of
CEO
this
had
for a
a
second.
previously unreported third
browse
child with
through.
the Canadian musician Grimes,
A third Elon child has
Yeah.
hit Grimes' womb.
his ex-partner. The couple deliberately kept the child's existence private, the book says. The child, who was born in mid-June 2022 during the week of Father's Day, is named Techno Mechanicus.
Boo!
He goes by the nickname Tau, after the Greek letter for the number equal to 2 times pi, which is roughly 6.28.
Fuck you!
This, in turn, reflects Musk's own birthday, June 28th. The journalist, Walter Isaacson, was given unprecedented access to Musk over the last 2 years. Techno's birth was first revealed in a New York Times review of the biography, which is simply titled Elon Musk. Accounting for Techno Mechanicus, Musk now has 10 known living children with 3 different women.
Techno Mechanica.
Yeah, see, that's a little bit weirder though, yeah, I think that the argument is fair that maybe it's coming off a bit more boomery and missing the mark with the namings and stuff. I don't know, it seems a little bit strange. They launched the car into space and stuff. A lot of media headline grabbing events. The alleged fine with the SEC for smoking on air. Yeah. It's like, is this guy even paying this thing? Like, did he actual? I think they like have a show trial and they like walk out and they're like, man, that was great, high five.
Yes.
Sounds like a rock band from like the year 2005.
And as you'll recall, 2 of those 10 children are twins that Elon Musk fathered via IVF with Neuralink executive Siobhan Zilis. And they were born just weeks before Elon's second child with Grimes, named, of course, Exa Dark Siderail Musk. People have naturally wondered how Grimes felt about that whole situation, and after Walter Isaacson tweeted out a picture of Elon with those twins and their mother, Grimes replied with, "Tell Siobhan to unblock me and tell Elon to let me see my son, or please respond to my lawyer. I have never even been allowed to see a photo of these children until this moment, despite this situation utterly ripping my family apart."
Sad.
So yeah, Grimes deleted the tweet and later apologized and said, everything's all good, but Jesus.
It's definitely not good.
Yikes. You almost gotta feel bad for her.
I kind of do.
I don't.
I kind of do. It's not like Elon Musk was a total weirdo back then, but he wasn't what he is now.
I mean,
She was just like,
one
hey,
kid.
I made a
sure.
cool reference on Twitter, and this guy, this guy who made electric cars, followed me, and now we're at then we go to the Met Gala, and then I'm pregnant.
Yeah, but
He just wanted a goth girlfriend, and she was there.
I'm almost positive I can say with confidence that this could have all been very obvious to her after one kid, not after three.
Sure. I think I go back to like the tweet where she's. I think another deleted tweet where she.
I don't really know anything about what's actually there, and I would say about Elon Musk, it doesn't seem like he spends much time with his kids or any of his he seems to be much more kind of like, I don't know, he's got his situation set up. You can't really blame him for it, but I would probably do things a lot differently, and so would a lot of other people if I had that kind of money. Right, I think pretty much everybody would. Even if you were somebody who is of similar sort of like lifestyle or mentality, even if you were like the exact same person, you would not even do the same stuff as him, right? Like it wouldn't make any it's kind of strange. I've seen the footage. I saw one where he had like he had one interview with his kids with some sort of like talk show or something. This is maybe like aired in the UK, and he was like. Just talking about his kids and what kind of games they would play and stuff like that. And you just kind of got a feel for like how he would be around kids and stuff like that in his family. I don't really have much to say about it beyond that. It's kind of a whatever situation. That's his own deal. I think it's just too funny, really. The naming convention stuff, though. I'm actually one of those people who's a proponent of breaking naming conventions just to liven it up a bit, you know what I mean? But there's a right way and a wrong way of doing it, and I don't know what that even is. So who's to say? Maybe in the future it'll be legally mandated. You'll be the strange one for not modeling every single person as a cyborg.
She was pleading with him to please understand.
Please stop being transphobic.
Yes.
Yeah.
Or I'm just like, at that point I was like, okay, you got to get out of there.
Yeah.
Like, you should probably stop associating with this guy because this is actually who he is.
She's a fucking. If you've seen like interviews with her, though.
Very hard to overcome. And a person with empathy, it would drive them insane.
It would. Yeah, I read a really good book by John Ronson several years ago called The Psychopath Test, and it's kind of an exploration of how muddy the actual definitions of it are.
Yeah.
But based on like the most accepted definitions, it's like in the general population, it's like between 1% and 5%, and in the population of chief executives at companies, it's like 50% meet those definitions, and they're like, "What? No, that makes me better at business."
Yeah, no, they use it as a point of pride. Like that, we've experienced it previously in business where someone comes in specifically because they're a soulless entity.
Yeah.
In order to wreak havoc on a business.
It's like hiring an assassin.
Yes.
You wanted to
They're
hire
a business assassin.
Yeah, they're like, oh, being a psychopath, that's actually an asset for the assassin that
You've
I'm
got
hiring.
Hey, exactly. There you go.
Skill that very few have. You don't give a fuck about people.
Yeah.
Yeah. You'd step over your own mother to get a leg up in this business.
You're hired.
Yeah.
That's exactly. We're going to be firing a lot of people's mothers.
And that's a big contributor to the reason why American culture is the way it is and why everyone is so self-focused and refuses to work as a group or be communal in a lot of cases.
A psychopathic country.
We are.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's more, yeah, we should be more focused on getting people into like proper places, but corporations and stuff. Also, people are very lazy. You know, a lot of people are kind of completely useless. Um, and a lot of people cast aspersions about that, but that's just kind of the nature of life, I think. Everybody's fighting against that. Even somebody like Elon Musk, right? People have always made fun of kings and, you know, rich people and, you know, notable celebrities, whatever, you know. So it's not surprising if you get a lot of money and then you have other people working for you, doing things for you, those people will come to resent you if you don't pay them well. And then even if there are people out there in like the countryside that aren't involved in your circle, if you are sapping all the money from the economy on net, okay, eventually they're going to get way fucking mad at you and come attack you, right? And that's what I think we're seeing in the populist media. So when I see, you know, you say something to me as like in an academic context, there are a rise of violence incidences in a society. What could be a proponent of that? What would be your suggestion as probably the primary component? It would probably be economic unrest above all else. And we're living in a society where, you know, you could have, you know, you are basically required to have a certain level of funds available at all times. Like to drop below that threshold for even a moment, you know, leaves you vulnerable to all sort of negative externalities, which cannot be avoided, and they are completely of the modern world. If you were simply traveling around like in Red Dead Redemption 2 and you were on horseback and your biggest enemy was a fucking wild animal, you'd be fine, right? But the second that you know there's mandated uh, restrictions on all travel, you know, you have to have, you know, you have to pay the devil its due at every turn, right? There's no occasion in which you are not being taxed, you know, and it's, you know, your car, your food, your purchase, your labor, your death, uh, your birth, you know, like you are taxed at every occasion in the entire process of being a living being within the confines of this fucking open air prison, as I now see it, right? Uh, so there's this minimum economic threshold which must be met, and they're setting it ridiculously high relative to what the economy will yield. And of course, people get mad and they turn to all sorts of nonsense. Like, there's nothing to do, you know, but sit around on your computer whenever the economy fails. And when the economy fails, you get all sorts of like local junta type activities, you know. So you see a rise in gangs, right? And gang like cultures. You know, yesterday I saw a guy like blaring. I mean, I don't even want to say. It was just like he was blaring some kind of music in a car. He didn't really have any like business driving. It begins with a W. Um, it's kind of like that one that's based on the tiger from that book that's banned in China. Um, yeah, it was kind of a guy, you know, that you don't ever really want to be. Uh, but it's funny. Uh, uh, yeah, we have a lot of problems, and you know, you'd just as soon exit the system. You know, there are people, the people that are winning inside of the United States right now are the people who are just entering from Canada and Mexico. You know, uh, you get all the benefits of earning a U.S. income, all the benefits of the liberal healthcare and tax code of Canada and Mexico. You get the ability to flee the corrupt military junta that is the U.S. carceral system, where every local city is, it's just like Mexico. people don't conceive of it. You might think of going through Mexico. They say things in America like, "Oh yeah, but if you go through Mexico, you might encounter corrupt police, and they might, want ransom from you." It's like, well, in America, when they extract ransom, it's like in terms of attacking you for promotion. So if they find the criminal scum that they are tasked with, seeking and destroying, and then eliminate them, it will prove that the whole time they're not just out there writing traffic tickets to people who are driving the same speed as everybody else. You know what I mean? That's how it works. Like, for real. They just, like, so the speed limit is, 70, no 60. 70, no 60. 70, no 60. Ah, gotcha. Like, literally, that's like, you just go through certain areas, and, I've seen it happen to people, and it's just, like, not cool when you see it happen, when somebody just gets pulled out of a pack, and it's just like, wow, that cop just literally pulled, that could have been, maybe they got pulled for something else, to be fair, but you know what you see when the cops just do routine pullovers. It's changed over the years depending on county and stuff, but there's still places where it could be your final, show. To be fair to all these people that end up in these encounters, a lot of times you don't even know what the actual reality of the situation is. They could just say something about you, and then that'd be it. Maybe this person just drove through the wrong county, and then, like, it's like, oh, unfortunately, this guy did reach for his, it's like some smiling, like, demon walks up to you and is like, oh yeah, sure, yeah, grab your driver's license for me. It's like, well, it's sitting, like, right here. No! Well, everybody in my local community said that I was fine, so I don't know what you guys are complaining about. That's what the cop says afterwards, right? Like, that's something that we have to guard against, absolutely, right? And it happens all the time. I mean, any amount of it is intolerable. And we are so far behind on where we should have been in terms of leadership on these issues that I don't even believe that it's really worth attempting to, like, spend your energy on fixing it. At least for myself, like, I wouldn't want to invest. You kind of want to go with the winning team. I don't know explicitly really what that looks like, but I don't think it's the place where you can't go shop for groceries. I don't think that's it. Really. I mean, is it? And then there are worse things than that too. I mean, targeted, like, psychopathic country and assassin. I mean, like, I mean, did you guys see that person who was poisoning somebody under their fucking door in Florida? They Florida PhD caught poisoning. Like, yeah, this. Insane. This guy poisoned somebody under a door over a period of time. He repeatedly went back to his people's houses, and it gave them such health effects that they set up a camera and observed him doing this. That is the alleged crime here.
He says his daughter was coughing and throwing up.
They say that there's, like, propaganda. It's like, man, you would hope, like, I hope this is just like, oh yeah, you're kidding, right? Like, they made this as, like, a precautionary tale, and then they're just gonna be like, oh, just kidding, we were doing that as, like, a public service announcement. No, like, that actually happened. Okay, cool. Yeah. I mean, if you start engaging in that sort of behavior, then all things are all on the table at that point, Like, talking about Genghis Khan, that's like real Genghis Khan. Like, I mean, that's more Genghis Khan than you actually want to be. It makes no sense. Like, people are going to find you out. You're going to get caught. Like, there's not real much sense in murdering in this day and age when people have such a keen eye on everything, or any violence at all. So people who egg it on are pretty fucking stupid. And people who force people into situations where they need to be violent are the worst, because violence is just like, it's part of life. It can't be avoided. But it can only be really remedied through, proper economic conditions. I mean, it's how I see it. This guy's probably just like pissed off that he doesn't have enough money to like actually like pay off his PhD or whatever, right? He's probably like on loans like the entire, he's like living in an apartment, so he's just like gonna kill somebody. What if they just let this fucking weird let's pick up we need to go find our handy dandy notebook of ethnic slurs, as they would want to term them. I don't really understand why people should be so offended by these sort of things. These words exist. I think in a lot of cases it's kind of funny, depending on which context they're said, right? It doesn't have to be this entirely negative thing. It's like, isn't it funny? Like, to me, the joke has always been about things which are like about racism, is that people get mad about racism. That's funny. And it's also funny that people are so caught up on like race in general and coming up with these slurs. That's also funny. And then it's also funny that because it's more about bell curve and like individuals who are excellent no matter what their origin is, right? End of discussion. That's all you need to know. And then it's also funny because in a lot of cases the racial stereotyping is accurate. That's another reason why it's funny. So, stay mad. That's basically the TLDR on racism. And it's hilarious that you have institutions like the ADL, which think that they can take, a few low-hanging fruit and use that to cast aspersions at a just complete. They are guilty of the same sort of racism which they accuse others of. That's just how it works. If you start to say, look at everything, basically the argument goes like this. With extremists, you can never be too careful. Isn't that a bit extreme? That's an extremist stance in and of itself. So at the first, sign, I had an art class once, and like the teacher said, draw like 10 symbols which are important to you, which like are like would signify things to you. And then she said, but don't draw anything bad. Don't draw anything like crude or mean or. So what did we do? I sat there, like we all just sat there for the next like 15 to 20 minutes, not drawing anything, just coming up with things to ask her that we would not be allowed to draw, right? So it's like, what's the first thing you say, I mean, oh, can we draw, this, that, the other? Of course, that's what you do. It's funny, that's how it works. And the funny thing is the reaction, of the teacher, like you're doing it to the chagrin of the teacher to your amusement, to the bemusement of the other, right? It has nothing to do with like, that's not even where I would have gone with it if it wouldn't reflect in her prejudice that to assume that the first thing that we would be drawing was like negative and bad things, right? Because it wasn't even accurate, right? So it was a very funny experience for me personally. Going beyond that, that's what I've been thinking about today. Also looking at containerization. Docker is interesting, but isn't it kind of just it's a, how would you say it? It is a branded version of containerization. So I don't know what you would want to go with if you were trying to set that up. on a server or whatever. I guess that's a pretty good video for today. A little bit of a rant on the ADL and Elon Musk. I think that there is a place for, the ADL, but I also think that it's extremely obnoxious. Toontown, something I was looking at, reflecting on Disney. I played this on the original. It's a pretty weird Disney MMO that's made for kids, and in it you fight the corporate fascists. And it's pretty funny. I like to think that somewhere in a boardroom there was somebody that really wanted to design a MMO to make money off of kids, and then there were these old dying boomers that were okay, we'll make your stupid fucking game, but we're gonna make fun of you the whole time. And this is what they did. And I really would like to imagine that's what happened. And now those people are laughing in their grave. It's just about attacking the corporate people that were paying them to design the game. They made their money, but so did the people that designed it, and then they also got to make this anti-corporate masterpiece.